We grind in the trenches, yeah, we put in the work. From the 50-yard line to the stain on the shirt. It ain't just a game, it's the lessons we teach. Practicing what we play and what we preach. It's the X's and O's and watching them grow. The playbook for life that you need to know. Where the gridiron grit meets the family time. We lace them up tight and lead from the line. Where fatherhood meets football. I got you. You got me. We got it. Here is your host, Coach Mac. Got you. You got me. We got us. Here is your host, Coach Mac. Coach Mac. Coach Mac. Here is your host, Coach Mac. Coach Mac.
Yo, welcome back to Lead from the Line. I'm your host, Coach Mac. And today we're going to dive into something that every dad who coaches their kid has struggled with. How do you balance being a coach and being a father? How do you demand excellence from your kid on the field and still protect the relationship of it all? This episode might change your entire approach. So let's get in it. So today's episode is titled The Power of Being Coach and Dad. So what's so exciting about this episode is it's actually the first episode that's going to have video attached to it. So for anybody out there who's listened to the first podcast and the second podcast, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. If you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever it is, make sure you're smashing that follow button so you can stay up to tune. And then anybody who sees this on YouTube, if you don't mind, smash that subscribe button so you can be up to date on any episode. So I just want to go ahead and kind of lay out some guidelines and some groundwork, basically. So I am streaming, right? This is going to be live, so you're going to see the video of this. I do have my cheat sheet on my monitor here. So if you see me talking and you see me look down, everything I'm saying, most everything I'm saying is going to come straight from my dome, right? Straight from the dome, straight from experiences. But I am somebody that will talk and talk and talk and talk. So I had to type out some guidelines in order to keep me on track, right? I'm trying to keep these podcasts at around, 17 to 20 minutes. I want them to be easy listens where you can listen to them when you're driving to the grocery store or whatever it may be. So just kind of a deal. If you see me glancing down, I'm not reading a script or anything like that. It's just going to be some guidelines to kind of keep me on task so that we can get through what we want to get through. So I kind of like to break everything down into sections. And so the first section I just want to talk about is the hardest part of being a coach dad, right? This is so hard because, when you coach a team, there's multiple players, right? For instance, I'm going to use my football team, my youth football team. There's 15 kids on the team. Every kid is different. Every kid has to be coached different. I like every single one of the kids, right? But there's a different relationship with those kids versus my son. So I can attend practice, I can attend games, I can boost these kids up, I can get onto these kids when I need to get onto these kids and send them off, right? They don't go home with me, they go home with their parents. And so it's really hard in that situation when you're being a coach and you're being a dad, right? So like you love your kid the most, you're probably the hardest on your kid. Because your expectations for your kid may be a little different than they are of other kids. And then you just notice every single mistake, right? Some of the other kids, you may approach them a little bit different if they make a mistake. But your kid, they're going to get a whole different response from dad. And so, and just kids, they feel all of it. And what I mean by that is, man, if you get on to your kids, it's a different feeling than when you get on to another kid, right? You can tell another kid, hey, I don't like the way you did this, or you did this wrong, your steps were wrong, your fundamentals were wrong on this situation, and it's different. When you tell that to your child, all they hear is, my dad doesn't like me. My dad thinks I'm terrible. Why am I even playing this sport? I'm the worst at this sport. What am I doing here? Why am I playing this? They hear that. And so it's really, really a great opportunity to coach your own kid. And I'll share kind of some of my insights on that as we go through this episode. But you just have to make sure that there's a separator. And we'll get to that. So, you know, our kids, when we coach them, they get two versions of us. They get dad and they get coach. But the issue is when they get those at the wrong time. Okay. So when they get coach, when they all they want is dad, and vice versa. So it's just one of those things where you gotta be smart in these situations, you know, and I'm not an expert in this by any means. But with my experience and kind of my coaching background in youth sports, you got to differentiate that. If you're going to be a dad coach, and again, we're all dad coaches if you think about it, because the underlying message on everything is, yeah, we talk majority football on this podcast, but everything that you apply here can be applied to just life in general on a day-to-day basis. So you got to really be able to separate when your kid needs dad versus when your kid needs coach. Okay. So next thing we kind of talk about is to me, I kind of wrote this one out. There's different things for coach mode and there's different things for dad mode, right? And you got to understand how to differentiate the two. And I think by breaking it down, I got 5 points for each of these that it'll give you some guidelines and help you out. So when we're talking about coach mode, when they think of us as a coach, you think about correct. And what this is correcting anything they're doing in the sport they're playing. You know, correcting a bad habit, correcting a bad stance, correcting a bad angle on a football field, correcting pad level on a football field. I mean, you can go on and on. Correcting stance on a baseball field, position of your elbow shooting basketball. All of it, right? Correct, right? So then it goes hand in hand. After you correct, you can't just say you did this wrong, your elbow was this, your form wasn't this. You then have the opportunity to teach. So as coaches, we're in charge of teaching the fundamentals, teaching how to do things the right way. And so if all we do is correct, but never give them guidance, how are they going to benefit, right? Then the next thing on top of that is you push them. Hey, we've talked about everything. I've corrected you. I've taught you. Now I'm going to push you to be the best that you can be in all these situations. And so those three things are amazing. Correct, teach, and push. Hey, we know the groundwork. Like we know the baseline. We know what we need to do. So now let's go do it. And then it makes it easier to demand that effort, right? Hey, I've shown you this. We've had the issues. We made the mistakes in the game. We didn't do this right, whatever it may be. So now I need your effort to match the training, right? It's one thing to show up and play a game. Just, hey, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to play volleyball with my friends. Sand volleyball just with my friends. That's different, right? That's just something that you can just wake up and do and be good to go. And you may not have to give that much effort. You're just having a good time. But when you're playing a structured sport and you've put in the time, you've put in the effort, you've got to demand that effort from your kids. Ray Lewis said, and it's one of my best quotes, and I don't know if it's word for word what he says, is you can't teach effort. You either have it or you don't. And I've always stated, man, if I had to build a team, it would be with kids who no matter what give you effort. And then to take that one step further, they give you relentless effort. They're going to give you everything they got during each and every play, each and every series, whatever it may be of the sport you're playing. And then after you've done all those things, you've corrected, you've taught, you've pushed, you've demanded the effort. Now you got to hold to that standard. Hey, this is what we expect. These are the expectations that we have for you. One of the things that I love about the football league that we play in is every single one of our games are recorded. So you can't hide effort from a video camera. You know, if nothing was recorded and we're all going off memory, we may miss some plays and be like, man, I think they made this play. I think they did good, but it all shows up on that film. And I don't particularly watch the film looking for issues. I watch the film when I turn on a film and I'll watch every single player. I watch their effort. there's a lot of the times that I don't even watch the entirety of a play. You know, I think, you can know the outcome. I can remember the outcomes of most of the plays, from our football games. But like, I want to watch and I want to see that first initial get off, like position by position. Did my offensive line step the way they needed to? Did my defensive line fire off in the direction they needed to fire off? If my quarterback's passing, is he getting back on his drop back like he needs to? Are my running backs stepping the right direction with the right foot, taking the ball with the right hand? Like, those kind of details matter, because again, then once you've got all that situated, then you can do all those things. And then it's like, hey, I've seen you do this on film. And so that's a problem now. And you know why it's a problem? Because I expect and I know what you're able to do each and every time. And then so when that game is over, so you're done coaching your kid, you're done coaching the other kids, you say your goodbyes for the week or whatever that may look like, and right then and there, you flip a switch. You take your kid home and you're no longer that kid's coach, right? So when you flip into dad mode, then it becomes support. Inevitably, your kids are going to want to talk about the game. So if there's an issue, if there's a concern, if there's an injury, if they're sore, whatever it is, you lift them up and you support them right then and there. You protect your kids. Same thing I said, if there's an injury, kids, and for sure, my 9-year-old, Boston, he won't tell you he's hurt. Quick story, we were moving some furniture around. They got new beds before school started. We're moving some furniture around. He's helping me carry a bed. Well, hold the bed out in the garage. We were unscrewing it to break it down. And so he's helping me hold, and I trust my kid. Hindsight now, looking back, I probably shouldn't have done this, but he was holding. And I thought he had everything good. Well, as I was screwing, I kind of looked down, and when I popped up, he had only had the bed with one hand. And so when that screw came out, it fell and it hit his toe. I had no idea he was hurt. He just kind of let an ow out, and I'm like, dang, okay, no big deal. Well, then we go on a little bit, and I see him limping around. I look at his foot, and his toe is swollen, just absolutely massive. He has a little bitty tiny feet, but it was just swollen. And I'm like, buddy, are you okay? And he was like, I don't know. And so then he was freaking out. He was upset. Older brother was upset. Wife was going, and he was all boo-hoo and just issues. So we get in the car. I take him. I'm going to go get an x-ray, because this determines everything. This was before we even played a football game this year. I'm doing the math. I'm like, we got this many weeks. We got this many weeks before our first game. I'm like, I have enough time to get him here. If his toe's broken or whatever, we can probably get him back in time for the football season. No. So we go back, we get the x-ray, everything's good. And so we're good in that aspect, but it's one of those ones, like, you have to protect your kids from themselves sometimes. These kids are so hard working, and they put in some time and they put in the effort. They don't want to miss, and sometimes you got to set them down. And so it was one of those situations where he didn't want to go get looked at, but it was, my wife and I was like, you need to. And then the biggest thing, and this goes to every aspect of life, and this is really one that I want to stop and talk about for sports related, but just life in general, is listening. Guys out there, this can help you with your wife as well. So this isn't just a dad type moment. This is with your wife as well. Just listening, and actively listening on top of that. Listen to what your kids have to say. Listen to what your wife has to say, and process everything. As guys, we're fixers, right? We think we hear something, we're just immediately going to fix that issue. But sometimes that's not what people want. People don't want us to fix an issue, right? They want to, they just want us to listen, listen and listen and listen. And then you love on your kid, no matter what. No matter win or lose, especially lose, you love on your kid, and then you nurture them and you just build them up, and that's what you're supposed to be, right? Boys need both from their kids. From their dads. They need a dad that's going to coach them, and they need a dad that's going to be their dad, but they can't have both at the same time. That's going to benefit them. And so I mentioned, right, the game's over. Let me take a little quick sip real quick. So I mentioned, right, game's over. Okay. The game is over now. You get in the car. And this can be a massive, massive problem here. The worst time for you to coach your kid is on that car ride home. Absolutely not. Now, it's hard. Trust me. The worst thing you can do is your kids played his heart out, right? They've won the game. They've lost the game, whatever it is. Go back and just let them talk. If they do want to talk about the game, let them talk. And then do all those things I mentioned: support, protect, listen, love, and nurture. But don't coach them on that ride home. Be their dad on that ride home. If they're hard on themselves on that ride home, you encourage them. You lift them up in those situations. Because, man, it's just that one thing. Kids are like us in a sense, right? I know when I played sports, I would probably into the, Friday night football, for instance, into the next day, I'm thinking about certain plays. Man, could I have made this play? Man, if I would have did this, man, if I would have did that. They're already replaying that just like we do, right? And then one thing that I've noticed, and even that I talk about after every game, is when I'm done coaching, it feels like a ton of bricks just fell on me, right? Like the emotions that go into a week of practice and game planning. Like when I'm done coaching, I'm emotionally like I'm done, like I'm fried. It feels like I've been in war, and I'm like, why is it like that? And I guess it's just the highs, the lows, the adrenaline. And man, our games are tightly contested, defensive battles sometimes. And again, I'm bald. I'm lucky I'm bald, because if not, I'd probably pull my hair out on some of these situations, because they'll be stressful. And so if I'm emotionally fried, my kids probably are too. Your kids are probably tired after their game as well, and then add to the emotional aspect of it, they're tired. Kids won't tell you. I know mine don't. I ask my sons all the time, are y'all ever going to take a nap? I don't ever see my kids sit down and take a nap. I'm like, when does that age start where you take a nap? Maybe when they start doing middle school football and they got to practice early before school and stuff like that, they'll start napping. But I'm like, do you guys ever nap? You need a nap. And so, you just got to watch your tone, right? Because if you're a coach too, and the game didn't go well, your tone may be bad, and you address your kid about something that maybe you didn't mean to be insensitive or the whatever, but tone is everything. And so after a game, everybody's tired. Stop. You can coach that kid again when it's time to coach that kid. Let me see. Yeah, but just another thing, you can just lift it up. I'm proud of you. I love the way you played. You worked your butt off today. I love watching you play. You're my favorite athlete. You're great. Lift those kids up. Like, you build that trust with your kids, and it just helps with confidence, right? Confidence starts at home, and it starts every single day. So build that confidence every single day, every single opportunity that you have. So the last thing is kind of we're going to talk into is just how to switch modes, right? So one thing is when practice ends, in your head have a whistle, and that's it. Nobody can hear that whistle. It can be your invisible whistle, but in your head, no, like I said, you flip that switch, whatever it is for you. That's when coach mode's off and dad mode's on. Has to be. You have to shut it down for your kids. They'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. Just shut it off. I know it's hard, but again, like I said, if it's hard on us, and it's hard on them as well. Also, put your arm around your kid as you're walking to the car. Like that sense of movement and action, when you throw that arm down around your kid's shoulder, think about like an anchor, right? You're anchoring your child, you're holding your child down. And that's huge, right? Bend down, if they're a littler kid, bend down, right? Get down, put your hands on your knees, get low, communicate with your child, and just shut it off. Turn that thing off and be the dad. You can be the coach. You got every opportunity to be a coach. But just don't miss out on those moments to build your kid up. Like, those moments are very, very important. They're very, very critical. And I promise, I know, speaking for me, not that I'm saying I've missed moments, but there were some times where the car ride home wasn't the best. So that's one thing too. I want to say, like, I'm the one talking right here, but it doesn't mean that I'm an expert in any of these things. You know, I failed as a coach. I've been hard on kids. I've been hard on my own kids. But I think just seeing other coaches and learning and also seeing bad experiences has just taught me, hey, this is the way I want to coach. You know, I'm loud, I'm proud, but this is how I'm going to coach. So one of the things too is you can just have a rule, 5-minute, 10-minute rule, 20-minute rule, depending upon how long your drive is, where you live. This silence or praise. So if that's your rule, hey, I'm going to do a 10-minute rule, you're either going to talk and you're going to praise them, or there's just going to be no talking at all. Hey, fantastic game. Let's just ride home in peace. Simple as that. And not an ounce of correction. The game's over at that point. The game is played. No correction on game day is going to make a benefit. Now, I always like to throw this out here because there may be other people playing multiple sports where they're double headers and stuff like that. So talking to your kid in between games is a little bit different, but I still think it goes back to that structure of you got to talk about the issues, right? Try to fix anything that you saw maybe in a doubleheader of a baseball game or something like that. But other than that, a football game, when the game's over, the game is over. And so kind of last thing is when you're coaching your child, they need your clarity. But when you're fathering your child, they need your heart. I'm gonna let that one simmer for a minute. I know dead air ain't good all the time. I want that to sink in. When you're coaching your child, he or she needs your clarity. But when you're fathering your child, they need your heart. If you don't hear anything I said in this entire podcast, that's your message right there. When you're coaching your kid, make sure they know. Make sure they know what they're supposed to do. Make sure you've clearly outlined your expectations. But when you're being dad, give them your heart. Love loud and love proud. Listen, you can only be your kid's coach for a few seasons, right? I'm on the end, right? Sorry, my cats are in here fighting. Hey, cut it out. My cats are in here fighting. You can only be your kid's coach for a few seasons. So I'm on that end right now. My 11-year-old goes into middle school next year. Well, he's in middle school now, but he starts the middle school sports next year. I'm kind of done being his coach, unless there's something we pick up along the lines where I'm his coach. But my seasons are over with him. I don't have very many more with my 9-year-old. And so the main thing is I won't be their coach, but I'll be their father for life. And so in these situations where you're a dad, where you're a coach, make sure you never sacrifice being a dad over being a coach. I appreciate your time. Again, follow if you're listening to this. If you're watching this, make sure you subscribe. And remember, lead loud and lead proud.
The fourth quarter fades. The stadium clears, but the job of a dad lasts for all of the years. We studied the tape, yeah, we learned the design. Now take it to your home and lead from the line. No flags on the play, keep your vision alive. Fatherhood and football, that's how we survive.
That's the final buzzer for today. I appreciate you stepping into the huddle with me. If this episode gave you a new play to run at home or on the field, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and leave a review. It keeps the lights on. Remember, the game doesn't stop when you leave the field. Go be a champion for your family. I'm Coach Mac. Lead loud and lead proud.
Take it to your home and lead from the line. No flags on the play, keep your vision alive. Fatherhood and football, that's how we survive. That's how we survive. How we survive.